The only image ever seen of decorators in the Downing Street flat. But when did the Prime Minister know who was paying for it all? Last spring he told Lord Geidt, the independent advisor on standards, the first he knew about who was paying the bills for the plush refurb by the designer Lulu Little was when he read about it in the papers last February and learnt it was Lord Brownlow, Tory donor and millionaire. But messages between the Prime Minister and Lord Brownlow suggest he might have worked it out earlier, and those messages were not shown to Lord Geidt when he was asking for all the relevant evidence. 3 months before Boris Johnson says he knew who was paying the bills, he WhatsApped Lord Brownlow. "Hi David, I'm afraid parts of our flat are still a bit of a tip and I'm keen to allow Lulu Little to get on with it. Can I possibly ask her to get in touch with you for approvals? Many thanks and all the best, Boris." Lord Brownlow WhatsApped back, "Afternoon, Prime Minister. I hope you're both well. Of course, get Lulu to call me and we'll get it sorted as soon as possible. Best wishes, David." A few minutes later, he added, "Approval is a doddle, as it's only me, and I know where the cash will come from. So as soon as Lulu calls, we can crack on. David." Soon after that, Lord Brownlow did pay and went on paying later bills. The Prime Minister told the independent advisor he'd forgotten the original WhatsApps. They'd temporarily disappeared when he had to change phone numbers. Lord Geidt's now written to Boris Johnson, if he'd known about the WhatsApp messages when he investigated the saga originally, "I doubt whether I would have concluded without qualification that at the point when the Prime Minister became aware who was paying for the works, he took steps to make the relevant declaration." In his letter to the Prime Minister, Lord Geidt acknowledges, "You have reiterated to me the veracity of your earlier statements. I recognise," he writes, "your contention that what I now know is capable of being reconciled with your earlier statement." But tellingly, at no point in the letter does Lord Geidt unequivocally accept that Boris Johnson was telling him the whole truth last spring.
I think Lord Geidt is going to be watching things very closely from now on. I don't think he is going to take things at face value in the same way that he has thus far.
The Prime Minister was visiting a vaccine centre today. In a letter to Lord Geidt, he offered humble and sincere apologies for what had happened, but not on camera.
Lord Geidt's letters are going to be published soon. Do you really expect the public to believe you didn't disclose key messages with Lord Brownlow about the refurbishment of your flat because you had a new phone?
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times, and yes.
Surely you'd remember such an exchange even if you couldn't see the messages.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
In his letter, Lord Geidt sounds suspicious of delays and evasive behaviour by those around the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister promises Lord Geidt more officials, a beefed-up team to police him and his ministers. Lord Geidt sounds like a man who thinks he really needs the help. Gary Gibbon, Channel 4 News, Westminster.